We are continuing our conversation this week with Dr. Brett Carver at Lahoma, talking all things wheat breeding. Let's start this week with double stop. We've heard a lot about it over the years.
Yes, and for good reason. It's a very popular variety now, and it was popular to begin with for its Clearfield package, that being the herbicide resistance trait combined with management to control grassy weeds in Oklahoma. But it's also popular because it's just a good variety, agronomically speaking, and a tremendous variety in the mill. We really want to continue and perpetuate that genetics as much as we can. Of course, we didn't really have to try to do that. It just happened because it just, the cream just rises to the top, and double stop has done that. We've tried on countless occasions to find a replacement or just something to continue that lineage with, and it's been difficult to beat that double stop lineage in terms of yield and quality together. The OK12 912C right next to it, I think, is our best shot. It took a little while to figure it out. It took a little while to clean it up. But I don't know if it's visible to the camera, but one thing that's visible to me as I look at these two strips side by side is this is a little bit earlier. The experimental is a couple days earlier than the double stop. It's no shorter. It's a tall variety, but it stands really well. I just found out that kind of the hard way, if you're gonna try to beat double stop, you're gonna have to beat it with double stop genetics. This is 75% of the same parentage as double stop, and that was not really by design. It just happened that way. But in terms of quality, I don't think we're gonna back off one bit relative to double stop. This will be a gem to use in the mill and in the bakery. In fact, I think the bakers are gonna really like it because the absorption in this variety is top level. We have not seen the water absorption at this level of any of our material, and that's one characteristic bakers really like to see, is high water absorption.
And then you have one other here that you're also keeping an eye on for release.
Yes, this is taking the double stop lineage in a different direction. I talked about last week the Duster Diamond. It's an experimental that introduced and brought along a key resistance trait, that being to barley yellow dwarf virus. And so we've used that diamond on our breeding program quite a bit. We wanted to bring barley yellow dwarf resistance into double stop. That's one of the weaknesses that double stop has. So sure enough, we did. It worked, and had a lot of help from USDA, the genotyping laboratory in Manhattan, Kansas, to help us bring that trait along, the barley yellow dwarf resistance. So in doing that, we can go in two directions. We can keep the Clearfield trait intact, which we have in other experimentals, or we can go without the Clearfield trait. So we really have in this line double stop that is shorter, as you can tell, much shorter and much earlier, even earlier than the 12-912C, without the Clearfield trait. And this is not the experimental line that would be commercialized. We would have to go in, and we already have done this, and pluck out individual pure lines that would be candidates for release. We've identified about 8. We've ruled out maybe a couple of those already because of stripe rust this year, but I think we have something to look forward to.
This is one group that you're keeping an eye on, but you're also looking at some relatives of Gallagher, right?
Oh, yes.
Let's take a look at those.
Great.
For this group, we want to start off with a quality conversation, right?
Yes, and that quality conversation is invariably going to involve Gallagher, because anytime you target quality in a breeding program, you have to make sure you have the agronomic framework that's acceptable to work in. We started with several backgrounds. We had to have a background to work in that farmers are going to accept. We had Billings. We had an experimental line that we wanted to release at the time of Bentley, but we went with Bentley instead, called 10130. And then we had Gallagher. Of those 3 backgrounds, it was the Gallagher background that ended up producing what we needed in terms of yield and quality. I will say this about Gallagher, and I did not realize it until we started working on this research. Gallagher has a certain chromosome in it, a wheat rye translocation chromosome. Basically, it's a combination chromosome from wheat and rye. It doesn't exist in a lot of varieties, but when it does, it tends to reduce the quality. In fact, to a level that's unacceptable. What I didn't realize about Gallagher was that it has such good quality to begin with, and when you put this translocation in, it doesn't hurt it too much. It compensates. But this translocation acts like a cap. It's kind of like an atmospheric cap on thunderstorms. It suppresses the quality. So in Gallagher, we had all this great quality in it, but it was being suppressed by this translocation. We took that translocation out, put this gluten, what we call on these signs BX7, a gluten protein in, and voila, we have a tremendous quality package. There is no parallel. Even Baker's Ann would not measure up to the gluten strength of this particular package. You know, you get to this point, there are a lot of choices. And there are only, what, 4 choices being shown here. There's another half a dozen we're looking at. We really have not decided which one is going to be the better one to go with. But I can assure our viewers that we're going to put the best yield with this best quality together to have the package that hopefully our growers will be able to capitalize on, not in a commodity-based market. This is going to have to be a contracted market where you access this quality, and specifically this quality. Because what you want to do is you want to combine this grain with some other grain that may not measure up in terms of bread quality. I mean, this is a fixer-upper. This is something we call like a blending wheat, but it blends something up. It's like, it's taking something tragic, which happens sometimes. 2017 was a great year to think, not so much great, but it was a very memorable year in terms of our quality went down. That was a tragic year. This puts some of the magic back, takes that tragic out and puts the magic in. And we're trying to fix a problem that we know is going to happen again. And we have this genetics to blend in with the other varieties out there that just may not measure up. Of course, not from OSU.
Of course not.
No.
Well, fascinating conversation. Keep us posted on as these stories evolve and as these varieties evolve. We certainly want to stay in the mix.
Yes, will do.
Thanks a lot, Dr.
Thank
Carver.
you.
And for more in-depth conversations about the OSU experimental lines, be sure to go to sunup.okstate.edu.